Hello and I welcome all of you on this official platform of Legacy IAS Academy. So today in this session I am going to discuss very important issue which is there in your newspaper, that is with respect to India Qatar relations. Now what is the context of the news here is recently that former 8 Indian naval officers are sentenced to death by Qatar's court, and this is one of the big you can say biggest event in terms of India Qatar relations. So we'll just try to understand the background, what are the reasons, and why still Qatar is important for India. Getting my point? So as you can see here, various headlines are there in the newspaper. As you can see, this is the article in Indian Express newspaper that Indian sentenced to death in Qatar. Okay. Another thing is, as we all know that the situation in Middle East is volatile because the conflict between Hamas and Israel still going on. So in Financial Times also, the news headline which is there like Qatar sentences 8 Indians to death on the charges of spying for Israel. So there are various reasons, various headlines with respect to this news. So we'll try to understand several perspectives. Now, as we all know that Qatar has just sentenced 8 Indian veterans who are ex-naval officers to death. Okay. Now, the thing here is, if you see, Qatar is also important partner of Pakistan. Qatar has also important links with Pakistan. Now, what Qatar has said that these spies has been working there and they are funding for terrorism in Qatar. Clear? Now, we'll just try to understand. As we all know, the location of Qatar is in West Asia. So first we'll try to understand the geographical importance of Qatar. Qatar, which is a country located in West Asia, as you can see here. As you can see this country here, okay, Qatar. Now, this is a very small country, and if you see the distance of this country from north to south, it is just 160 kilometers. It is just 160 kilometers and its overall population is only around 2.9 millions. Okay. But almost 90% of those are foreign migrants who are working in Qatar region. And out of these foreign migrants, many of those migrants are Indians. That is the important thing. Getting my point? Now, why Qatar is important? So, let me tell you. Now, just try to understand. Qatar is an oil and gas power. Getting my point? Qatar, if you see, this is oil and gas power of West Asia. Gas power of West Asia. And the most of its revenue comes from this gas and oil power. That means energy. So energy resources of Qatar have brought immense wealth to Qatar. And because of this immense wealth, Qatar is getting diplomatic influence despite its small in size. Getting my point? So Qatar is rich in natural resources, natural gas is there. This much is clear to all of you. And if you see, Qatar is also having one of the highest GDPs in the world because of its resources, that is natural gas and oil. Clear? Now, apart from this, if you see, now as you can see this picture here on the slide. So, as you can see this picture, that Qatar and these military bases. So Qatar is also an important partner. Important partner of America. Important partner of America. And Qatar also hosts US military base in Middle East. Yes, Qatar also hosts US military base, and there are various events, various examples. For example, Qatar is the country which helped America in regional interventions also. For example, US did military intervention in Libya. So Qatar helped United States of America. And apart from this, there are several regional countries like Saudi Arabia is not having good relations with Qatar. Saudi Arabia, UAE not having good relations with Qatar. So Qatar is one of the most important partner of United States of America in Middle East. Clear everyone? Now just try to understand. So what are the reasons why Qatar is not having good relations with other Arab countries? Because Qatar, now what is the reason? So part of the reason here is because Qatar is also backing for Islamist groups like Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas and all. As the war is going on, Qatar is supporting Hamas. Getting my point? So Saudi Arabia and UAE, they believe that Qatar's policy is destabilizing the region. Qatar's policy has destabilized region in this Middle East. Getting my point? So that is why in 2017, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, UAE, all these countries, they have severe ties with Qatar and they started blockade of the country. And then because this blockade is not good for trade and commerce, this will give you instability in the region. That is why US had to come forward. Getting my point? And US had good relations with Saudi as well as Qatar also. And try to understand, then US was the country which intervened in their tension. So the crisis was resolved with Qatar leveraging US influence to settle the tensions. But still, the perception of a Qatar as a state that Qatar hosts various terrorist groups, Qatar hosts various radical groups like Taliban, like this Hamas, getting my point, like Hezbollah also. So as you can see here, so ultimately from a distance, Doha was becoming synonymous being host to Hamas, Hezbollah and Taliban. This is the reason. Getting my point? So even this in Israel and this Palestine, or you can say Hamas war or Gaza instability, Gaza conflict, Qatar is supporting Hamas. Getting my point? So now try to understand. Apart from all these things, Qatar is also having close relations with Pakistan, had good relations with Pakistan. Now in 2022, Pakistan faced severe economic crisis. So at that time, Qatar gave around $2 billion package, $2 billion to ease financial crisis of Pakistan. And Qatar and Pakistan also share good military relationship, and this is one of the factor in this spying case. Getting my point? So this is a factor in Qatar espionage case recently. Those 8 Indian veterans or ex-naval officers who are sentenced to death. Getting my point? So despite Qatar's support to Pakistan, India is, despite these support, still Qatar is important for India. Getting my point? So Qatar is an important to India. So that relationship is important to understand. After a Qatar's court sentenced 8 former Indian naval officers to death on suspected espionage charges. That is why we should understand why India has approached this case cautiously. Though those 8 naval officers were arrested last year in 2022, but there was no news with respect to this, no public statements from Indian side. Getting my point? Now, why India approached this case cautiously? So let me tell you, there are 3 important advantages, okay, that India needs Qatar for 3 reasons. So let me tell you the 3 reasons first of all. Now what are those 3 reasons? So the 3 reasons are lie, L-I-E, lie. Lie means E for try to understand, okay. Now E for energy. For energy imports, Qatar is very important for India. Second thing, I, investment. So for foreign direct investment, Qatar is also important. And third, labor. So for these 3 reasons, Qatar is important for India. Clear? Now, so just try to understand. So the first reason here is energy. Now, India needs imports of LNG, liquefied natural gas, from Qatar. India is dependent on Qatar with respect to LNG. So if you see the trade relations between India and Qatar, so much of their $15 billion trade relations is made up from these energy imports only. Getting my point? And if you see, apart from this, despite these energy dependence, Indian energy firms, they have also tried to increase their imports from Qatar. Now you must be thinking, sir, there are substitutes, alternative like Russia, but let me tell you that because of Russia-Ukraine war, supplies disrupted. That is why Qatar is important. So because of this energy relations with Qatar, Qatar has become more important after Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, because this war caused disruptions to supplies from Russia. That means now European countries, they will also chase for Qatar's gas supplies. Now other countries, if other countries also chasing for this Qatar's gas supply, so this will create more competition for India. Getting my point? That is why India is very careful with Qatar, because while trade, if you see, while trade in oil happens in open market, but if you see, trade in natural gas takes place only government to government deals. That means geopolitics and good relations are key to India's energy imports. Getting my point? This is the importance. Now, another importance here is investment. Yes. Now, Qatar is also important for India's investment. So, India has been keen to attract investments from Qatar, particularly from Qatar's Sovereign Wealth Fund. Getting my point? And Qatar Investment Authority, there is an authority called as Qatar Investment Authority, invested $1 billion in Reliance Retail also. And that is why in 2002, our former vice president, Venkaiah Naidu, okay, he estimated that Qatar's foreign direct investment have increased 5-fold. This is the reason. Getting my point? Now, the third thing is labor. Yes. Now, according to Ministry of External Affairs data in Parliament, Qatar is home for more than 8 lakh Indians. Now, this makes large number of diaspora or chunk of foreign migrant labor who are there in Qatar. Now, remember this thing. These migrant workers have been key part of bilateral relations. So, these are the things that we need to understand. That is why, this is the reason, these are some important reasons. That is why even Qatar, last year Qatar has arrested these 8 former Indian naval officers, but Qatar has not made their charges public, and India has not made a single public statement. Getting my point? So this shows that the energy, this shows that the diplomacy is very important. Getting my point? So that is why I think 2 days ago, when Qatar courts announced these 8 veteran officers, okay, are sentenced to death on espionage charges, then you can see the public reaction started. Getting my point? And if you see, government has not made any public statement. Government has just said, okay, government has just said that this is very shockable, this is very shockable event. Getting my point? So this time it looks like that India's foreign policy in terms of Qatar is adopting quite backroom diplomacy. Getting my point? So in terms of these issues, okay, that means India has opted quite backroom diplomacy. Backroom diplomacy means that we will take this matter up with Qatar authorities, and this is a very shockable event. Only these 2 statements came from government side. Getting my point? So that means government is quite on this. Getting my point? So quite backroom diplomacy. Now the question here is, why only this time, okay, that Qatar authorities have given death sentence to these 8 naval officers? What are the reasons? So let me tell you that recently Hamas and this Israel war is going on, where India is supporting openly Israel. Another important reason here is this event can also be a setback for India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. Getting my point? So I hope this is important for your examination, and I hope you are able to understand this topic. So these 3 important features, like investment, like labor and energy. These 3 are important key pillar from the perspective of India-Qatar relations. So I hope this much is clear to all of you. Okay, so I hope this much is clear to all of you, and this news is useful for your examination perspective also. Getting my point? So thank you so much.